Welcome to the Vitality Equation, exploring research in health and well-being one paper at a time. So are we diving into this Morphogenesis-on-chip paper today? It sounds intense.
Definitely intense, but also potentially super relevant. When I saw the title, I immediately thought about how we can translate these tissue engineering concepts into practical things for everyday health, muscle recovery, performance enhancement, sleep, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, my mind went straight to the chip aspect. It's like miniaturizing biological processes. I started thinking about how we can miniaturize and refine cognitive restructuring technique in CBT, Make them more precise, more targeted.
That's fascinating. I was actually reading about this link between early life stress and, potential vulnerabilities to things like alcohol. And it made me think, if we can manipulate cellular environments on a chip, can we create microenvironments in our lives to foster resilience through things like meditation and mindfulness, even when facing triggers?
Okay, hold on. Let's back up for our listeners who aren't necessarily familiar with the super sciencey stuff. So this paper basically looks at how cells organize themselves, right, to form tissues and structures. But they're doing it on a tiny control platform, a chip.
Exactly. And the key thing here is they're focusing on cell intercalation, which is basically cells rearranging themselves within a tissue. Think of it like dancers switching places in a choreographed routine. It's fundamental to how tissues develop and heal.
So why is that important for us, though? I mean, beyond just understanding basic biology.
Well, think about muscle injuries, or even just muscle soreness after a workout. Cell intercalation is involved in repairing that damaged tissue. If we can understand the factors that drive that process, like what makes cells move and rearrange themselves efficiently, we could potentially develop better recovery strategies, maybe even therapies for muscle wasting diseases.
And from a cognitive perspective, the precision control they achieve on the chip is really interesting. It reminds me of the precision needed in CBT to identify and challenge distorted thinking patterns. It's about creating the right environment for cognitive restructuring to occur, just like they're creating the right environment for cell rearrangement.
So in the paper, they mention interfacial tension and migratory forces being important. Can you break that down? What does that actually mean?
Okay, so interfacial tension is imagine you have oil and water. They don't want to mix, right? There's tension at the interface between them. In this case, it's the tension between cells and their surroundings. It influences how cells stick together and move relative to each other.
And the migratory forces are just the forces that drive cells to move. They're influenced by things like chemical signals, physical cues, and even interactions with other cells.
So it's like a complex dance of attraction and repulsion that determines how the tissue forms. And they're able to control these factors on the chip?
Exactly. That's the beauty of the chip aspect. They can precisely control the environment, manipulate these forces, and see how it affects cell behavior in real time. It's a much more controlled system than, say, studying this in a whole animal.
Right. It's like trying to meditate in Times Square versus a quiet room. The environment makes a huge difference. This reinforces my thought about creating these controlled environments for cultivating habits, even things like meditation, a specific time, a specific place, minimizing distractions.
That makes total sense. It's like optimizing your sleep environment, blackout curtains, white noise, comfortable temperature. You're controlling the microenvironment to promote better sleep and, therefore, better recovery.
Yeah, and in CBT, we talk about stimulus control. For example, if you're trying to break a bad habit, you want to avoid the places and situations that trigger that habit. You're essentially controlling your environment to reduce the temptation.
So what specific findings from this paper could be translated into practical applications?
Well, they identified specific factors that promote efficient cell intercalation. If we can figure out how to stimulate those factors in the body, maybe through targeted exercise, specific nutrients, or even therapies, we could potentially accelerate muscle recovery after injury, or even help build muscle more effectively.
And it's not just about the physical. Think about the mental aspect of recovery. Pain management, motivation, adherence to rehabilitation protocols. Understanding the biological processes underlying tissue repair could inform more effective CBT interventions to support the recovery process.
That's a great point. It's about the mind-body connection. I wonder if things like visualization techniques could be used to influence these cellular processes, like visualizing the muscle fibers repairing themselves It sounds a bit out there, but there's some research suggesting that the mind can influence physiological processes.
I'm not sure about visualization directly influencing cell intercalation, but there's definitely something to be said for the placebo effect. If you believe something is going to help you recover, it might actually have a positive impact, even if it's just through reduced stress and increased motivation.
The placebo effect is huge, and it highlights the power of belief and expectation. In CBT, we work with patients to identify and challenge negative beliefs that might be hindering their recovery. Reframing those beliefs can have a significant impact on their physical and mental well-being.
So let's say someone is recovering from a muscle injury. What could a holistic approach look like, incorporating insights from this paper, along with exercise, CBT, and maybe even mindfulness?
Okay, so first, you'd need a carefully designed exercise program that gradually increases the load on the injured muscle, promoting controlled stress and stimulating cell intercalation. You'd also want to focus on proper nutrition to provide the building blocks for tissue repair.
Then, you'd incorporate CBT to address pain management, build motivation, and challenge any negative thoughts or beliefs that might be hindering recovery. For example, if someone is afraid of re-injuring themselves, you'd work with them to gradually expose themselves to movement in a safe and controlled way.
And I think mindfulness could play a role in managing pain, reducing stress, and increasing body awareness. By paying attention to your body's sensations, you can learn to recognize early signs of pain or discomfort and adjust your activity accordingly. And maybe even use meditation to influence the inflammatory response.
That sounds great. It's all about creating a synergistic effect, where each component complements the others. The exercise promotes physical healing, the CBT addresses the mental and emotional aspects, and the mindfulness helps you stay present and connected to your body.
And it's important to remember that this is a personalized approach. What works for one person might not work for another. You need to tailor the program to the individual's specific needs and goals.
Absolutely. Which brings us back to the chip analogy. This paper is about creating a bespoke environment for cells to thrive. We need to create bespoke environments for ourselves too, tailored to our individual needs and circumstances.
So what about future research? Where do you see this going?
I'd love to see research exploring the cognitive correlates of cell intercalation. Can we identify specific cognitive processes that are associated with faster or more efficient tissue repair? Can we use CBT techniques to enhance those processes? Maybe even biofeedback techniques?
I'm interested in seeing how we can translate these findings into optimized exercise and sleep protocols. Can we design exercise regimens that specifically target the factors that promote cell intercalation? And can we optimize sleep to enhance tissue repair and recovery?
I'm curious about the potential for mindfulness and meditation to influence these cellular processes. Can we use these techniques to reduce inflammation, manage pain, and promote tissue regeneration? And can we identify specific meditation practices that are most effective for this purpose? Maybe measuring inflammatory markers before and after meditation.
Those are all great directions. And I think the key is to integrate these different approaches. It's not just about exercise or CBT or mindfulness. It's about creating a holistic approach that addresses the physical, mental, and emotional aspects of health and well-being.
Exactly. It's about recognizing the interconnectedness of mind and body and leveraging that connection to promote optimal health and recovery. This paper, while focused on a very specific biological process, offers valuable insights into how we can create the right conditions for healing and growth, both at the cellular level and at the level of our whole being.
And it highlights the importance of precision and control. Just like the researchers meticulously control the environment on the chip, we need to be mindful of the environments we create for ourselves, both internal and external, creating those controlled environments to encourage better habits.
It's fascinating to think that these fundamental biological processes, happening on a microscopic scale, can have such a profound impact on our overall health and well-being. It's a reminder that even the smallest details matter.
Yeah, and it's a testament to the power of interdisciplinary collaboration. By bringing together insights from biology, psychology, and other fields, we can gain a deeper understanding of the complexities of health and develop more effective interventions.
Well, this has been a really insightful discussion. It's amazing how a seemingly niche research paper can spark so many ideas about how to improve our lives. It goes back to the point about creating a bespoke environment. We may be more capable of manipulating our own lives than we think.
I agree. It's all about taking these scientific findings and translating them into practical strategies that we can use to optimize our health and well-being.
Definitely. And it's about empowering ourselves with knowledge and taking an active role in our own health journey.
That's all the time we have for today's episode. Thanks for joining us on the vitality equation. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.